What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my 2013 BMW F10 M5 restoration series. On the last video, I was able to partially disassemble the front end of this car and get it to where we are today. I know a lot of you are probably asking the question, why am I even doing this? Is there anything wrong with the car? And the answer is no, there's nothing really wrong with it, other than oil leaks and kind of weathered hardware and a rich code on bank one, I think, that I was trying to chase down. I bought this car a little less than a year ago with the intention of doing this. I did get it for a reasonably good price considering the condition of it and the mileage. But I knew there was something here that I can kind of make some videos on and kind of tear into the engine a little bit and show everybody else that these are actually not as bad to work on as you think. They are more involved than your typical BMWs or cars in general of this era. But if you compare it to something like the G90 M5, this is rudimentary stuff. So today I want to kind of dive into pulling apart the rest of this cooling system. I need to evacuate the AC system and disconnect a bunch of lines. What I really want to start with before doing that is draining the low temp coolant circuit. So these cars have two coolant systems. One is the low temp, which kind of cools the ECUs, it cools the intercoolers, and kind of it's totally separate from the engine cooling side of things. And then obviously there's the high temp circuit, which is the front radiator, which cools the engine coolant, engine oil, and also I'm pretty sure the transmission fluid gets cooled through that as well. So before I can disconnect all of the lines on the main radiator, I'm gonna have to drain the low temp circuit, get rid of these intercoolers, and dig in from there. So let's get to it. All right, before I raise the car up, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this low coolant temperature circuit reservoir cap. Let the coolant from those two radiators drain a little easier. All right, I'm just gonna go up kind of partially. I'm gonna drain the coolant into this bucket I have over there. All right, we're here on the passenger side low temp circuit radiator. I'm just gonna disconnect this lower cooling hose here and let it start draining. I'm definitely not reusing this coolant, even though it does look good. I'm gonna replace all the fluids I can on this car. Again, the point here is to kind of make it like brand new. And get it up to its full service kind of potential. I don't really have any service history on this car, so just gonna change everything. All right, we'll let that drain out as much as possible, and then we'll go to the driver's side. All right, there we go. Okay, there we go. I might consider removing these radiators as well and giving them a good clean. I see a lot of like leaf debris and just junk kind of in the way, so that might not be a bad idea either. All right, now that the low temp radiators are drained and I'm pretty sure most of the coolant is out of the reservoir here, I can go ahead and get started by disconnecting the lines that go to the reservoir itself and then removing it completely. Okay, that's good. Then we have these kind of push type plastic lines here. Just push in and pull out both sides. And that's it. And all we have left is this T30. Get that out. Oop, it's not a T30. Looks like a, is it a 27? Yep, T27. And then it sits on this little grommet here, this green grommet. There's a peg underneath. Right, we can get some more of these coolant fittings off of the intercoolers. All right, these lines here are the coolant lines for the ECU. Actually, both ECUs. This is for this bank, and I could see the ones on the other side for the other bank. So what I think I'll do is probably just disconnect them at the ECU itself up here. This clamp just kind of releases buried on the back side. To get in your way here for a second. There we go. There we go. Got it loose. Pull that out. All right, just get a standard 8mm nut driver on this. Remove that. The clamp seems like it's stuck, but it should be loose. And then we have a Torx T30 here. All right, so this is the boost side of the intercooler, and this is one of the clamps I have to loosen here. The other one underneath was the one that I found that was broken, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason for the fuel mixture code that I was getting. But we're gonna find that out shortly. Oh, so that's looks like a 6mm. Let me get that really quick. Let me see if I can reach it. It's kind of at a weird angle. So that's like the one thing working on these cars is that space and access is what makes it more difficult than anything. But it's still doable, not impossible. All right. So we get that clamp loosened up. And slowly start pulling the intercooler out. Let's see. All right, I think to get a little more clearance here, to get access to the intercoolers. I'm gonna see if I can pull this fan and shroud assembly together. It seems like there's just a couple clips holding it in, and it pulls up. Okay, that's free. And now there's just one main connector here. Just unclip, pull that out of the way. All right, let's see if we can pull this thing up without too much of an issue. Yeah, that's not gonna work because we have, I think, the electric coolant pump for the low temp circuit kind of attached to this shroud, so that's not going to work. Let's see. I guess at this point I can just kind of disconnect that, but then this upper radiator hose is in the way. Actually, I think the next best thing to do is get the AC machine in here and evacuate that system to get that out of the way. So let me pull that in. Okay, I got the AC machine connected. Now let me just connect them to the service ports. And so the F10 is a little funny here because you can't get to the low side without pulling that intake box on the passenger side. So here we go. And I'm curious to see what charge it recovers and to see what kind of leak this actually does have, because I did install a full charge the first time and then it leaked out, and then after installing this full charge for the second time, it hasn't leaked out. So let's see what happens. All right, we're gonna recover. I'm not gonna save. Okay, connected. All right. Give this a couple of minutes to recover and see how much refrigerant we're able to get back. The recovery process is done, and it seems like I have collected about 0.849 pounds of refrigerant. Spec on this car and what I previously installed was about 1.6 pounds. So it seems like there still is a leak somewhere, definitely a slow one. How this thing was running, I don't know, but for now, just get the machine disconnected and continue removing the cooling stuff. All right, let me see now. I got most of this stuff disconnected. I still have one coolant hose, but let's see if we pop this out. Okay. And then we should be able to just kind of wiggle this up and out of the way. Awesome. And let me see if I can access that hose a little bit better now. I think I can. The biggest hurdle with these cars and working on these cars is access, and that's it. Everything is so tightly packaged that it can drive you crazy sometimes, but if you have patience, there we go. Nothing is impossible. Okay, perfect. So that coolant hose is disconnected. It should theoretically come out now without any issue. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to continue this side and kind of just repeat the same process as the other. I'll kind of speed you through it. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. So. All right, so most of the cooling system is taken apart and removed from the car. The only thing left is that radiator, which is for the low temp circuit. There's just a couple more little things I have to remove at the bottom to get that out. As you can see here, this line, I have it kind of, pulled over. That's the low temp circuit line. This is the AC condenser. I'm really hoping that I find the leak somewhere here and that this is the cause of my Freon issue. This is the main radiator here. Pretty dirty, but I guess with a good cleaning, and it should be fine. Here are the intercoolers. Again, those are okay. Cooling fan here, the upper shroud, a bunch of stuff over there. Don't mind the Range Rover Classic stuff. This is the 1994 long wheelbase that I'm fully restoring while I'm doing all this at the same time. So yeah, this is it. So I'm gonna continue removing the rest of this cooling package. I'm gonna take the rest of that shroud out. I might even take these side radiators apart as well and take them out just for cleaning more than anything, because I think by what I see down here, you check it out, there's a lot of dirt and leaves and debris down there that has built up over time, and I just want to kind of get rid of all of that, clean it, detail everything. But now I definitely have way more access here, and I can do a lot more now in terms of inspecting where any oil leaks are coming from, change any seals, O-rings that I have to, and that's it. I think next I'm gonna pull these lines right here, which are for the turbos. One issue that these cars have underneath these little heat shields here are rubber hoses that connect these two together. And originally, when these cars were new, there was no heat shielding there. It was just straight hose. And they found that over time, the extreme heat from this turbo setup was just destroying these rubber hoses and causing a coolant leak. So there was like an updated version where you change the hoses and you add these heat shields to kind of give it a little more protection. Looks like somebody's already done it here, but I'm gonna redo them anyway since I'm taking this whole thing apart. So I'm gonna continue taking apart the rest of this cooling system, and then we'll take it from there. All right, I got the last couple of things connected down there, which was the one of the auxiliary water pumps. Now I can pull this. I could pull this whole shroud as a unit and leave the auxiliary radiator in there. Let's see. Let's see how I'm gonna get this. Might have to pull this part first. Let me see. You have to be very patient. That's the most important thing. So this is the low temp circuit radiator. This shroud can come out and we're free here. And then lastly, this is the shroud that holds that front ducting. This is gonna have to be the first thing that goes back when I reassemble. So now we have full access to everything we need here. Definitely much easier to look at now that this is gone. I mean, again, it's not rocket science, it's just a lot going on, so it can seem cumbersome, but again, if you've done this kind of stuff before, it's nothing really, nothing out of the ordinary. What I don't like is stuff like this. So this line here is what connects to both of the auxiliary coolant pumps, and it was literally just like tucked in somewhere. Somebody's been here before and they didn't reroute it correctly. So if anybody has like a diagram or a picture of how this line routes, that would be greatly appreciated, or else I got to track down another F10 M5 and kind of take a look and see how theirs is routed, so I can do it exactly the same way as it should be. And that's it. Let's start disconnecting these lines here now and take it from there. All right, so I'm ready to remove these turbo coolant lines, but something I'm noticing that's very odd actually is the way this upper radiator hose is set up. It's actually part of this little manifold here that bolts onto the water pump, and then this guy over here kind of branches off down into one of the auxiliary water pumps. That's pretty odd. And then behind it, you have another line that routes around here to this. I guess it's either, I don't know if this is a valve or another smaller pump that maybe helps push the coolant through the turbos. But I guess I'm going to start by first removing this guy here, get it disconnected from the from this auxiliary pump. Let me grab my cable tool better. So this isn't a tool that really gets used a lot, but in these situations, it's kind of the only way. It's like a cable spreading, I guess, clamp tool. So these little teeth here grab onto the clamp, and then you compress it, and then it actually keeps it open for you. Okay. Okay, let's give it another try. Okay. So it's compressed. We'll let it relax a little further up. Yep, T30, crack that loose. Now this line should be empty because it does flow down to the lower radiator hose, and I emptied that a while ago already, so there should be no coolant here, but you never know. This also might be one of those jobs where it's like replace whatever you can, even if it's still good, because to get to just to do the belts on this car is a lot of work. You need to remove a lot of stuff, and I think that's a major part of the service on this car, is kind of just get all this stuff out of the way. Let's see, we're gonna make a mess. Perfect. Okay, so it is empty, and I'm pretty sure there's an O-ring in there that I will replace. But first, I'm gonna get these T30s off of this bracket. And that's what's holding on this little pump here, or at least I think it's a pump. And by doing it this way, I'll avoid messing with any of these Ettinger clamps and opening them and having to recrimp them. But I might have to do it anyway if I get a new upper radiator hose. So I kind of messed up here. Well, I didn't mess up, but at this point, I can't get the upper radiator hose behind the belt. So you know what? I'll just remove the belt. All right, so I have a T55, and it looks like it's a T60 possibly, which I don't have. So we're just gonna have to kind of work with what I have. And how am I gonna do this? Let me get in there without the extension. Problem is I need one hand to untension this and then another hand to pull the belt. Okay, get the belt off from here or here where it's smooth. All right. Perfect. All right, that worked out. So I can save this upper radiator hose if I want to. Next step is I gotta remove that other line that goes to the turbo cooling. So I doubt it's gonna leak, but just in case. It's on this side. It's one of those spring clips again. All right, clip is removed. Maybe I can get it from this side a little easier. Let's see. There we go. All right, so that's out. More coolant. I'm curious to see how much coolant this thing's gonna take when I put everything back together. It's gonna be interesting. All right, so now that I got that off, we can focus here on getting these lines disconnected from this section here with those rubber hoses I was talking about. So one of these little clips here is broken, which means somebody was here in the past, probably when they were doing this upgrade at some point. For now, we'll just take these little insulating blankets. We're gonna get a whole new kit. They sell them as a kit. And what I can see here is they didn't change the hoses. They just added these blankets, which is not a good idea because, I mean, it's better than nothing, but at that point, if the lines had already become brittle or damaged because of the heat, you're just asking for trouble. So I'm gonna do the whole new kit, which gets you new lines, new clamps, and new blankets. It's weird because only this side has the worm clamps. This side doesn't. I honestly wish I had a service history on this car, which I don't. But I'm finding out all of the secrets as I go. Is there any date code on these hoses? Don't see any. All right, so start off by removing these, and that's a 7. I'm going to put all the new single-use clamps again when the time comes. I don't really like using these worm clamps. They can actually cause more trouble than they're worth by destroying the line. Let's see what we got here. Let's go. All right, one side. There we go. Oops. All right, so we got one side disconnected. All right, that wasn't so bad. Let's get it untangled here. Okay. All right, now we get the other side. The other side still has these single-use clamps, but just open them up a little bit. Usually don't want to do this if you're going to reuse the hose. You can definitely damage it, but in this case, we're replacing the hose, so no big deal. And then you could even just cut these lines, if anything. I mean, at this point, again, they're getting replaced, so. All right, now, getting these charge pipes out is going to be easier now that everything else is out of the way. I'm just gonna open these single-use clamps, which is a little easier on these bigger ones. You could just, let me see if I can grab it. Take the little tab. I might have to get something to hit it with. All right, so if you get a little flat blade screwdriver, just lightly tap it up and then pry up the clamp. It'll come free. Do the same thing on this side. That one's barely holding on as it is. Let's see if we could just get under it and open it. Again, these are one-time use. You're not going to be able to reuse these, so don't worry about it. Let's get a 10 mil. Use this. These guys should be free. So the one on the right is first because it's on top of this bracket, so Help it out a little bit. Again, I'm most likely gonna replace all of these fittings, all of these hoses, pretty much everything involved with the cooling system, the intake system, and the boost system. Damn. That thing is really stuck in there. Try to get in it. All right, so the best thing to do here is just cut it. All right, so take a nice little utility knife and just wow, it's like a rock. Not even the knife is cutting this thing. Jesus. Just try to get this flat blade in here. The last thing I'm going to do is damage the turbo, so I don't want to go too crazy, but wow. I'm kind of really happy that I'm doing this in a way, because you don't know what the issue is or if there's any issue until you actually get in here and start messing with this stuff and removing parts and inspecting. For what it's worth, these hoses looked okay to me, but now that I see them from this perspective, no way. They're literally like glued on. It's crazy. I guess I got to keep working at it with this flat blade screwdriver and hammer. All right, I'm gonna get these off and then I'll bring you back. This is gonna be a little bit too boring for you, so. All right, I just wanted to show you how crazy this is. Look, this is literally dried up and cracking. It's not even, get that. Holy. At least that one came out a little easier. The other one had to cut in half and destroyed it. Thank God that's done. All right, before I go any further, I'm gonna vacuum up any debris or anything here by the turbos. I do not want to contaminate anything. So let me get that done now. All right, now that that's done, I can finally remove this other T30 that I couldn't reach in the beginning of this disassembly. And with everything else out of the way, it's gonna be easier. Okay, got that out of the way. Put this guy back here for now, so I know where it goes. Here's the 4th bolt for those turbo inlets. Now let's see, we gotta pull this breather line here. I really don't care if I break them or not. Again, these are all getting replaced, so this comes out easy. Gotta press these top and bottom. That cracked. Yeah. All right. So here's the other turbo inlet housing. These seem fine. I'll probably just clean them up, make sure everything's dry and there's no debris in there, and just reuse them. It's the breather and the PCV system that I'm going to replace. All right, I think that's as far as I'm going to go today. I really don't want to make these videos longer than they have to be. I know a lot of you have been asking for more long-form content, specifically on YouTube. So this is kind of my initial push into, giving you that. If this is what you like, if this is what you want to see, I really want to hear the feedback, and I'll keep doing it. So as far as the M5 goes, I made really good progress today. Entire cooling system is apart. Most of the coolant hoses are apart, other than some of the low temp circuit side, which is responsible for the ECUs. I have to remove the ECUs as well, remove the fueling system, and continue my inspection. From what I see in the front of the engine, I'm definitely going to need a new alternator because this bearing is definitely making noise. All of the other pulleys seem to be okay. Belts seem to be in great shape. I think they're original, but since I'm here, I'm going to put brand new OEM belts just to kind of get that out of the way, because I do not want to come back in here just to do belts. Other than that, so far, other than being a very tedious process, as long as you're kind of meticulous and you take your time, it's totally doable. Don't be scared of the S63 engine. A lot of people out there are. That's why people are very weary of buying these cars, but I'm going to tell you, this thing is a supercar sedan, and it's going to require more maintenance. It's going to require added labor when it comes to doing work on these cars, but there goes my light. But at this point, you're driving, in my opinion, a supercar, and that kind of comes with the territory. So on the next video, I want to continue tearing everything down, and in the meantime, I'm going to start making my parts list and seeing exactly what I'm going to need first. So again, if you guys like these videos and you want me to continue making these in-depth, longer videos, just give me that feedback and I'll keep doing it. Other than that, I'll see you on the next one.